Right. Hi, I'm Sammy Aaron with the Resilient Activist, and I'm delighted to be here today with a visionary activist, Mr. A.Y. Young, who's the founder of Battery Tour and one of the United Nations Young Global Leaders. He's a singer-songwriter, dancer, producer in Kansas City. He's also a sustainability advocate who's been named by the United Nations as one of 17 2020 World Youth Leaders after having been selected from 18,000 nominations from 186 countries. AY is the only youth leader selected from the United States, and he's one of the first artists in the world to power his concerts with 100% renewable energy as part of his Battery Tour. He was recently recognized by a national energy publication, the Energy News, as one of their 40 under 40 leaders and innovators from across the United States for his work their work to transition to clean energy economy. So we're going to start off with a video. So enjoy this. This is the AY sneak peek.
Great.
A local hip-hop artist makes an international name for himself. He is the first artist to power his concert with 100% renewable energy.
It is a real honor to recognize Mr. A.Y. Young, the founder of Battery Tour.
It's incredible. Can't wait for you to see this. The United Nations is now throwing its support behind him.
Mr. Young has made a big impact in his young life, born in 1991. He's a singer-songwriter, a dancer, producer, entrepreneur, and sustainability advocate. He's staged and performed more than 800 concerts. He was named by the United Nations recently as one of 17 youth world leaders of the world, the only individual selected for that honor from the United States.
To stimulating this local economy further, bringing entrepreneurs together, bringing businesses together, bringing the world together so we can make some change. I'm AY with the Battery Tour, and we're here in Honduras. It's beautiful. We're going to bring power, solar energy, medical supplies, reading glasses, all those things to people of Honduras. Hey, mama. If it's true.
That's crazy.
So I just want to say, when you wowed Kansas City's mayor, Quentin Lucas, right? He was speechless for just a moment there, and that's really hard to do.
Right, because he's so good. I mean, somebody listened to that too. Like, I showed someone a sneak peek, and they're like, "Is that Obama?" Because, Quentin Lucas is going to be something. I mean, I won't be surprised if he's president in the next 8 years, right? I mean, he's just special. But yeah, that's my favorite part. He's like 800.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, AY, you're just such a joy to be with. And I know that the breadth and depth of your understanding of sustainability and energy and music and community activism are just mind-boggling. So what I'd like to do is start off and let you introduce yourself. So in addition to what I introduced you as, who are you? What's your background? What do you want to say about yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm an outlet for change, man. I say this all the time. I think everyone in the world is an outlet, right? Like, even right now, I can show you an outlet, in my home, which is the logo that we wear, right? Talking about being plugged into the people around you, plugged into the community, the nation, the humans together. We can do anything. I'm really just a plug to just enable people. Created the Battery Tour as an outlet to plug in and connect to your passion. And I'm just really here to get the world plugged in.
Well, tell me about your background. How did this get started? How did you get interested in doing this?
Man, yeah. Well, I mean, I could go back as far as saying I was homeschooled and probably thought differently because my mom homeschooled me, or how she built something called the Ivanhoe Neighborhood Community, like in Kansas City, which is now one of the model neighborhoods, and how I watched my dad get, we had 4 crack houses on my block, and I watched him mobilize the community and block captains and like clean up so much of Kansas City and made it be what it is today. I mean, I could talk about going downstairs about to do school and there's Emmanuel Cleaver in my living room, or the Kaufman people, or what is it, like the James B. Nutter, will be in my living room. They'd be meeting with these people, right? Funkhauser was a mayor in Kansas City a while ago, these different people. So, I mean, I now to get, as I get older, I'm like, okay, all that inspired me, because I saw them change Kansas City. But what helped me start this, the Battery Tour, my music, it's all evolved, right? I mean, I was on a TV show called X Factor, right? And I got 4 yeses from like L.A. Reid, Simon Cowell, Britney Spears, and it was great. And I learned a lot about the music business, the business of music. But, when I got off the show, I wanted to say hey to the world. I made a song called Say Hey and some other good music. I would hit up artists that would come to town, like Wiz Khalifa would come, or Shaggy or something. I'm like, hey, I want to open up for Shaggy, and then like their agents or someone would hit me with like, they'd be like, well, how many followers do you have on your Instagram? Or how many tickets has your last tour sold out? It's like none. Well, that's what I'm calling you. So it was like, I want to be like Ed Sheeran. I want to be like Andy Grammer. I want to be like Bruno Mars. Those guys are doing shows like every day. And they're like, how can I do a show every day? I wanted to be a concert, not just like a street performance, right? And so I obsessed over like energy. And I was like, oh shoot, energy is the base resource. Like everybody needs energy, right? From food, from whatever, like energy. And then I figured out if you store enough, you can power anything. And that's how I started.
Wow. How did you get the idea to connect with people who don't have access to electricity or energy? Like how did that evolve when you thought, I can power my own concerts, or I can hire out to other, entertainers and power their concerts. But where did you make that connection to bring energy to those that don't have it?
Yeah, it was an evolution. It's like I started doing 8 to 10 hour shows, and that's because I looked at Taco Bell and I'd be like, okay, if you work there, it's a 4-hour shift, or Burger King, right? So I'm gonna do 8-hour performances. Now people be like, oh my God, that's so long. But that was like normal to me, and I'm in Kansas City, so I picked something that looked like America. White girl that was a singer, an African dude that could dance, a Latino person. I wanted a band that reflect this melting pot that the world is, right? Because we're a little conservative here, and I wanted it to be everything, right? All ages, all demographics, all tax brackets. I wanted to connect everyone. So I say that to say I'm performing, I look back, I see batteries, I'm like, hey, this is the Battery Tour, right? That's how I got the name. And then people would donate like, yo, bro, we love your mission, your music, here's $5, we're your outlet. We power the tour, right? So I'm like, oh shoot, you're right. You're an outlet. She's an outlet. The person that 70-year-old woman over there, she's an outlet for change, and all plugged in, we can do anything. So I started taking the donation money that outlets would give me from city to city and state to state, right? To get the world plugged in through music, music universal language. The Battery Tour kind of evolved. It became a platform to promote, develop, to deploy like sustainable solutions. It would bring in like-minded individuals. Like if you're an activist and you had something to say, it'd be a platform for you. If you're an artist and you want to perform or do one song or open mic, it was that for you. It was a dance party as well. Cupid Shuffle, Cha-Cha Slide. It was all of these things. If you were a business and you had a product or something that was sustainable, right? That's a perfect place to showcase it. So it became all of these things while I was traveling and doing this. And, so I ended up opening for Wiz Khalifa. I did a 3-city tour with Shaggy. I opened for Aaron Carter. I opened for T-Pain. I did all these things while doing, all this touring. And that's when I discovered through going through the US that there's places that don't have internet. There's places that electricity shuts off at like 7 o'clock. It's crazy. I'm rolling into a town and I got enough power to do a concert. So I was like, okay, well, music brings everyone together, right? I mean, it's a universal language. So let me just use that to literally get the world plugged in, right? So that's when I built the outlet. I call it the outlet, and started using the concerts to really just raise money to send one person one village, like one place, access to energy. I think it's all about one action every day toward your dreams and goals, or toward like this sustainability like thing, right? And if we all take one action as outlets, we can change the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So was that all one sentence? Yours is like, it just flows out of you. So I'm curious about the energy that you do send to other places. And you had like a box and a solar panel, and like, is that a particular thing you created, or?
You're talking about, I got some crap on it right now. It's still charging though.
Okay.
This is the resolution, the state resolution from, that's from Mayor Quinton. This is the congressional record from Congress talking about the battery tour and what we just did.
Cool.
That's an article in the news. That's the state resolution, Missouri, the Missouri state resolution. And then that's the outlet. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Where you can plug the solar, stores the battery in there.
And so how long will that battery last? So once it's fully charged, and let's say you don't actually plug anything into it, or how much time, how much energy, time-wise, how much energy would that produce when it's fully charged or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, so now you're getting super technical, right? Like a lot of people get super technical, and it can get really confusing because energy is very complex but simple at the same time. It's like I could plug a cell phone in there, which that was designed for cell phones. It wasn't designed for concerts. I'm using it out of application. At the end of the day, I was trying to address the issue where there's billions of people that lack access to energy. A lot of them have to pay for their food on their phone. And so they have to walk 5 miles just to charge their phone to buy food at a marketplace in Haiti or Honduras, right? So that's what that was developed for particularly. Now, your Android phone might take more power than the iPhone 12. Like, it's so hard to know, like, how, what I'm saying? So with that being said, if that's like, has to be like truly like trialed out. And this is a prototype, even though I've powered over 800 concerts, it's still not, tested in every arena. And I'm also using it out of application. I will say that I'm able to do 8 to 10 hour performances. I also know that if the sun's out, it charges technically while using it, right? And I aim to, as I always talk about, I want to work with Tesla. I want to work with Elon Musk. I want to work with some of the biggest and best in the battery storage and solar space in the world. Now that I'm a young leader and the only one in America, man, I want to utilize that to work with the best the world has to offer to do something really great, right? For people, for music. So that would be the goal, I'd say, with it, right? Let's build something better.
Yeah, and I love the idea of it being portable, and if there's a way to keep it small, and I'm sure the technology is changing on that. It's just like all new technology, over iterations, everything gets smaller and more compact and easier to schlep around, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the battery in your phone, right? I think lithium is probably in your phone. So there's different kinds of batteries, right? There's different kinds. There's the battery in your car. There's lithium. There's all these things, right? So, and there's a lot of great stuff out there. A lot of people doing great things overseas, in Japan, and in Asia. There's the whole continent is doing some crazy stuff. People are doing great stuff around the world in general when it comes to storing energy or battery technology. So what I'm doing can amplify or can be better based on the technology that's being used, right? It's like buying a cheap battery at the dollar store versus maybe getting the Duracell Maxes. I don't have Duracell Max money and never did, but I helped get the world plugged in, having dollar store support, which was literally me performing at the street corner doing like 8-hour shows. So I hope now, as I reach out and start trying to pull in partners and people to help power the battery tour and the idea and the concept and even fund it, right? Now it's like, what can we do? Powered by Tesla or Energizer or a philanthropist. What could we do? I mean, it could be insane, right?
Well, yeah. And the one interview that'll be in the show notes that you did, it wasn't an interview, it was when you were speaking, to the UNESCO group. You have some other ideas, things in your mind, I think, in addition to the battery tour, right? As far as the sustainable
100%.
development goals and things like that. Like,
Oh
is
yeah,
there
when I was
some other
talking to the
pieces?
young leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there some other piece components of what else is bubbling out of you right now that you have, you're in that position of being able to contact like Elon Musk or somebody, it's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
here's who I am. I can call these people.
Yeah. Exactly, right. I mean, that's the thing. Now you're talking about being a young leader. So I mean, I'm just now into this role. Like I literally, what was that, 4 days ago? I finally had the call with the UN Secretary General Guterres, if I said the Antonio, and then of
Hmm.
course the youth envoy, and then the deputy secretary. So that was like the equivalent of like meeting with the president of the United States and the vice president, right, of the UN.
Yeah.
And that group that you're talking about, those were the other 16 young leaders, right, of the world. So we were
Hmm.
all kind of talking about what our project would be. So um, a lot's changed because not only do they love my project, but the United Nations will do, as you heard them say, everything in their power to help make my project happen. And so what I did was I laid out a project in 3 steps that I want to start quarter 1, January, and that's to do an album, 17 songs, one song for each sustainable development goal. So whoever is listening, if you guys listening, you're like, what's the sustainable development goals? They're also called the global goals, right? The global goals of the world, right? There's 17 at all these 100 and whatever countries, including the U.S. Says, man, we got to do these 17 things like gender equality and education for everybody, and clean energy and clean water for everyone, right? So I'm going to do an album, one for each goal, and then a tour, right? Like the world's first sustainable tour, which we know it's battery tour, just scaled up, right? 17 days in the US, because I'm the US leader, right? So let's do it home first. And let's get the US behind me, the entire US. Let's plug the America in. And then the third step is I'm gonna release a guidebook and a roadmap after the tour to share with all artists globally. This is how you tour sustainably. This is how you make a sustainable album, right? Because also the album I'm gonna make is gonna be completely sustainable. I'm gonna do it powered by renewable energy and not fossil fuels. I'm gonna do it sustainably. And then all mixed in with that, we're doing a docu-series, right? A 2-season docu-series for streaming television, Netflix, Hulu, we hope Apple TV. 2 seasons, 1 season for the music, 17 episodes, and then 1 season for the tour, 17 episodes, right? So that's what I'm launching. And just to throw a little bit more out, the idea is to work with the best the world has to offer in every facet of humanity. That's the biggest and best TikTokers, Instagrammers, YouTubers, artists, and entertainers, and then of course nonprofits, right? Companies and corporations that care, believe in social responsibility, or connect to one of those 17 goals, right? Which is really all of humanity because there's a goal that someone applies to. So that's the goal and that's the approach I've taken. And with that being said, the things that are occurring. I mean, I just got connected yesterday, with Matt Damon and Gary White, who make water.org, right? And then Scott Harrison over there at Charity Water, right? Which is like the biggest in getting people clean water. But I mean, aside from that, I brought in Brian Kennedy, 5-time Grammy winning producer. So, we've connected to Lady Gaga and Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire and Rihanna. And the list is going on with Garth Brooks, Keith Urban, Billie Eilish. I mean, the list keeps you right. So it's like, how can we work with the best the world has to offer to achieve the global goals of the world?
Wow. All right, so I'm going to put a link to the SDGs in the show notes so people can learn more about those, because that's good. And so here's what I want to ask you. Your background, you started off with a great inspiration from your parents as neighborhood and community activists. Your living room had mayors and Congress people, and right. So you started off with some great support. What didn't go well? What's been difficult for you, or what has felt a little out of your range, or anything at all that didn't just flow because you flashed your ingratiating smile, and it didn't always work. I'm gonna guess it didn't always work.
Right.
So
Right. I mean, it looks like everything, I guess it might look like everything came easy, but it didn't though. I wasn't like Justin Bieber. When I watched Justin Bieber's Never Say Never, it's a great movie. I love Justin, but Justin was doing music when he was like, what, 5 or something? Like,
mhm.
oh, he was always doing music. Like, I wasn't though. I didn't really start music until like 17. My mom and dad didn't even let me listen to really rap music because it was like secular music, you know? So like I didn't really like I used to write poetry about like the Truce Divide, like stuff that I saw, like you could drive down Truce and get to the plaza and it's like another world. It's like it looks good here, but over here. So I would write about it. And it wasn't until my brother was playing the guitar because he picked it up at 16 maybe, which was random because like I said, we weren't into music. And I was like, wow, these words I wrote go to the guitar. So but once I discovered music, I applied this idea of hard work, 10,000 hours. I mean, that's what I put into my basketball career that got me to play Division I basketball. It's always about putting 10,000 hours in. It's always about working toward your dream every single day. So it's funny because people see this, they must think that it's so easy. But like, just like when Quentin goes 800, like I did 230 shows last year around America in 39 different states and like can't tell you how many different cities. 230. Most art that's unheard of. And then we're not talking about 30-minute sets. I used to laugh because recently I heard some artists, I don't know, some big name artists, did like a 3-city tour, they did like 3 shows in 4 days, and their sets like 45 minutes. You do 45 minutes and it's all set up and it sounds good to go. And then, you do it and you leave and they had lost their voice. Oh, my voice is gone. And I thought to myself, in 3 days, I would have done 3 shows and each one of them would have been 8 hours and I would have set up the show, but I wouldn't have just set it up. It would have been set up powered by renewable energy. I'm lugging 100-pound batteries, maybe 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks. Maybe I'm lucky and it's just 1 block of carrying a 100-pound battery over and over and over again until it's enough batteries to power an 8-hour show. Then I have to entertain. And generally, there are people walking down the street or they're trying to shop or they don't even know who the heck you are. And you're trying to draw them in, also all ages, all demographics, and all races, which is tough, whether you're doing Michael Jackson, Prince, or you're doing Garth Brooks or Keith Urban. And then you got to engage the little kids with the Cupid Shuffle, the Cha-Cha Slide, all while still trying to tell them who you are and why you're there. And that it's powered by renewable energy in a 10-hour span. And then you got to get up, and when it's all over, you got to then find a way to get it back in the car, and sometimes you got to stop this guy because, yo, bro, can you just stand here so I can just run my speaker to the car, lock it so it doesn't get stolen, and I'll just leave the batteries, even though that's like pressuring my mind because, heck, someone could steal my battery, right? That's every single day because then once everything's in the car and you did an 8-hour show of dancing for 8 hours and singing and everything and you're drinking some water, then you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to shower? Did I make enough money in cash tips? Because no one gives cash tips much anymore. To even get a hotel room, probably not. That was a luxury. Never really happened. What city or state we're going to go to, or am I going to try to find a nearby parking lot to go to sleep at so I can wake up and perform here in the morning? That was every day, not for a month, not for 2 months, not for a year, not for 2 years, not for 4 years, not even for 5. And I wish it was for 6. But it wasn't even for 6. That's for 7 years. So, it's been pretty tough to finally get someone to say, "Oh my gosh, this is great," by year 7. But I'm happy to be here finally. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what it's been like.
Oh my gosh. What kept you going? Like, what was it? There's something in your heart that just said, it's worth all of this. What is that?
Yeah, man, the love, I guess. Short answer. It's always those moments like in hour 6 when like someone tells you something, you brought them happiness or you brought people together. I've seen the Battery Tour bring a lot of relationships. I've seen people that met at the Battery Tour and then 3 years later they're married, because we broke down those barriers and walls and connected people that would have never ordinarily became an outlet, I've seen so much, so many artists that are now artists that were just singing at an open mic to them for that one experience, and the little girl that's dancing, and sometimes just looking at the different ethnicities and being like, wow, this is the only time I'll see the guy who owns Sporting KC mingling with this inner city kid, mingling with this like middle class like guy here. It's nuts, man. And that's what music can do to me. And I guess it's just love. And I just knew. I was like, you know, you look around my room, you see all this stuff on the wall, all these posters and stuff, and that, you know, I don't have label support. I don't have people allocating a budget to push out marketing. This is
Yes.
from the people.
Yes.
This was powered by the yet, right? From the ground, yeah, it's coming, I hope, right? From the ground up, you know. So I knew that people realized they were an outlet when we would have schools, you know, drawing photos of outlets, and people say, hey man, I'm at the gym and the battery tour is here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then they send a picture to the Instagram, and you see an outlet. And I go, yeah, well, I'm already in every home in America. So let's make them know that. That's what
all
kept me
right.
going. You know, I just knew it.
Yeah. So one of the things in that video that we just saw, it looked like you were doing a concert on one of the streets with the painting of the Black Lives Matter artwork that was on another streets in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about the Black Lives Matter movement this summer, the Black Lives Matter movement your whole life, you know, whatever. What has shifted? Has anything shifted? And do you see that it's going to be a long-term shift as far as racial equity, social justice, that whole interrelated component, along with climate justice, right? And you know, it's all intersectional.
No, it is. I think the best way to answer this, because so many people want to know what I think on some of these issues that for some reason are so divisive, right? You know, when you look at facts, you know, America was built on the backs of African Americans as slaves. It was also built on the backs of Native Americans, if that's the best way to put it. I mean, this is history. You know, it was built and constructed this way. And I think many of the ideologies that built this nation, you know, whether you understand it or not, that were built in that time period where Blacks were considered 3/4 human, or Natives were looked at this way, have somehow carried on to now. So, I mean, I always like to say that America is like a relationship with a girlfriend, you know, and it's like you can't cheat on her 10 times in the first week and the third week, and then you know, when you guys talk about it, you go, oh well, I already apologized, it's over, you know. And then she comes to you and she's like, hey, well, Bill, I want to talk about something. You're like, well, I'm watching the game. The game's on. I thought we already talked about this. and then next week she gets a little bit more upset this time though. Like maybe she throws something because, you know, Bill, you're just not listening. I just want to talk to you. And you know, one of those girlfriends that forgive you, but also you need to talk about it. You know, I think America like needs to do a little bit more of what you have to do to the girl. You got to sit down and say, okay, you know, I messed up. I really did mess up. I cheated on you. I did this. I did that. I did this. It wasn't that long ago. It was recently. And so how can we move together, forward together, and really come from that place? Because also, if you're just BSing her, she'll see through that. And she'll know, oh, he's really just, you know, and then it's more of a problem. Heck, before you know it, shoot, man, she might be throwing your clothes out the apartment and freaking breaking glasses. Riots. Or that, right? So that's what America's dealing with. And I don't think they maybe may know that yet, or they're coming to that realization. And so with that being said, there's a lot that's going to go on. Like, think about a relationship, think about how a woman will act maybe when that is not healed, bro. They can stay around for 10 years, for 50. but that doesn't mean it's okay. So I mean, with that being said, we're at a really interesting time where a lot of people are plugged in thanks to social media, and you cannot ignore some of these issues. You know, you can't ignore that statue that stood there and stood for this if you look at what it was constructed for. You can try to put a new meaning on it. You can say, well, for me it means this, you know, because I was here when I was 9 and I kissed my girlfriend. For us, this means this. But it also meant what it was meant for. You know, so we're in this weird phase where you almost can't run from it anymore of what certain things were designed to be. Not saying they can't change and shift, not saying that the old Confederate flag doesn't stand for what it did stand for now. I'm not trying to attack any of these people's ideas, but you know, we're gonna have to figure something out, right? So with that being said, I like to take the thing of love, because you know what we need is we need love, and we all need to come together in general. So that's really what I'm trying to do using music. I don't care if you don't give a crap about, and I know this sounds harsh, but this is real. You could be like, oh, I don't give a crap about gender equality, but I like education. Well, you plug in. And so now maybe we all interface together on a project that, whether you care about life on land, but you really care about life under sea, right? Now you're connected in a lot of different ways. And maybe that opens your mind up differently. Maybe you look at your brother and sister a little differently, because we are. So that's really like more of like where the stance I take.
I love it. And the analogy of being in a relationship with your girlfriend, I think, is a very clear analogy. You know, there's so much broad existential conversation going on, you know, and I think you've honed
Yeah.
it down to, oh yeah, I get that. It's exactly the same. It's just
It's
over a
really
longer.
that simple, right?
Yeah,
It's
it is.
exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
keep watching the football game when she's trying to talk to you, bro. She's been trying to say the same thing for a really long time.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow. Woo. Cut through the chase. So here's a question unrelated to any of this. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
What in nature, or where in nature, has supported you? Like what, when you think about your whole sustainability mission and community building and so on, somewhere underneath that, there's, I'm guessing, I could be wrong, there's a connection to the natural world. And I'm just wondering what that is.
Energy has to be energy. I think there's so much energy all around us. Energy from the food we eat, nature, people, you know. It empowers me. Happiness, good vibes, stuff like that empowers me, makes me feel like I'm on the right track. And then, you know, God's my center, you know, believe in Christ, centered in Christ too, you know, so that's where the love comes from. I think all of those things for sure. If that answers it.
It
Our
does.
planet's beautiful, right? I mean, the soil, the grass, there's so much history, people's souls. Like sometimes, you know, I'm working on this, I'm working on the Global Goals album even now, you know? And like I said, I started music late. I started music at 17. I wish I was like Michael, you know, who started when he was like, whatever, 5 or 6, just like Justin Bieber did. But it's not really about when I started. What I'm trying to do, like you know, I can't wait to meet Quincy Jones, who built Michael. I just got her today. I'm going to go to the studio where he made Thriller. You know, I'm trying to create a paradigm shift. I mean, this album, I'm going to have the best the world has to offer. This is like We Are the World ×2, you know. 17, you know, we Dolly Parton and Lady Gaga and myself on the same track, hopefully, right, for the gender equality, or Lizzo as well on there. So it's like, I feel like I need superpowers. And sometimes I feel like I am a superhero. I really do. But like in a weird, like I love anime and like, you know, Dragon Ball Z, I think about. But I'm saying all that to say, like, I remember making this song, you know, and it was like, they call me Superman. I got the super plan, and I'm say to Mother Nature, or our Mother Nature or something. And I like was messing around and freestyling, and I was just singing like, "Give me Michael, baby," like, "Give me like, give me," like I was like almost praying like, "Michael, give me your strength, like, give me your skills, Prince, give me this, like, legend, James Brown, this guy, like."
Mhm.
Like, let me be like a vehicle that can put out these styles and genres that can connect to the people with this message, you know? Like, that's, I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I was like, you know, I can feel like they may be gone, but that spirit and energy lives on. And I just want to adopt that, to be able to like to connect, because they connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love your always going back to the energy, and finding that energy, because it is that connection, whether it's between different humans or between humans and trees and plants, or between humans and the energy that they use for transportation or electricity or whatever. It's like it really, there's a morning mantra in the yoga tradition and the Hindu tradition called the Gayatri mantra, and it's all about the sun rising every day. And the sun, when it comes up, it touches everything, right? It reflects off all the dewdrops. It reflects off of people's eyes and their belt buckles, and the sun powers everything. And it's that energetic connection of all that is on the earth. And it's like you've taken that from your own perspective and just found the way to just bring it to reality. This is amazing.
Heck
Wow.
yeah, that's well said.
Yeah.
That's dope. You're right. You're right. Yes.
Okay,
Right
I have
on.
one question for you.
Hmm.
What advice would you give someone who wants to be a visionary activist? Like, right, that's our new program, is this visionary activist program. And
Hmm.
you fit that to a T. I said that to you when I asked you to be part of this interview.
The
What
vision.
would you say to
Yeah.
someone, yeah, who has something bubbling up out of them? Maybe they're in the middle of that 7 years of a god awful trying to make something happen and it's just not happening yet, or maybe they haven't even stepped into it yet. But
Yeah. Seeing that vision. I mean, that's part of what kept me going, right? Seeing where I saw it, even though no one else did. And now, even though, so much has changed, you got the validation from the United Nations. I opened up for Wiz Khalifa. I did this. The vision still stays the same. People try to get you off track because they come in, they see it now or see a little bit of it, and they want to steer you a certain way. But you've got to stay steadfast in that vision to where it affects every part of how you move, like in your daily life, hour to hour. Are your movements reflecting the vision? Are your friendships reflecting the vision? Is where you spend your free time, if you have any, reflecting your vision. Like, all those things, every single thing creates the success of it, the determinant of it, or determinant, is that the word? Like the blockage of it, or if it doesn't get there, or right, like the impact of it too, or the longevity, like the length of how long it takes you to get there. Or you might even miss your timing because you lost track of the vision. So you went this way and the path went a little here, and then the window closed, the door closed, the road is in construction. So now you can't go that route. You gotta, right? Like, uh, what if you notice what I'm doing is I'm talking about a whole bunch of things, similarly unrelated to like that macro vision. Like, we're talking about who you're spending your time with. We're talking about what you're doing every single day from hour to hour. We're talking about what you're reading, what you're consuming, how long you're spending on your vision or goal. Like, all of that stuff is what creates the success. The relationships, not burning bridges, understanding people and humans, researching, learning. Every day you have to learn more. You have to. Otherwise, you'll never get there. And you have to do as well. You can't just talk about it or have a vision. You have to do the steps to get to the vision. And it might be thousands of them, man. I didn't set out day one and say, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do 1,000 shows before maybe I get halfway close to my vision, but it was necessary. I knew I had to perform, knew I had to do it, I knew I had to meet people, I knew I had to network, I knew I had to do all. No, shoot, now I gotta do. Oh shoot, I'm back. I was like, oh shoot, now I gotta do social media. Oh shoot, now I gotta do posting. Oh shoot, now I gotta figure out how to do engagement. Oh shoot, now I gotta do video. Well, no one's here to do it. I don't have any money. I gotta learn how. Right? You start becoming an entrepreneur in the path of finding and making your vision happen and staying true to it. So that would be my advice if people could hear the advice in what I just said.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic. It's yeah, just hearing your vision and how you visualize your vision and how you've not just formulated it, but just been on that path for so long. And I'm grateful that we connected, and that for everything that I just know your heart is bubbling up. You're an amazing young American.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So we'll reconnect. We're gonna do more interviews down the road with you. So
and stay
this is
connected.
great.
I'm gonna have Doug make sure we stay connected, because I want to make sure my ears, they can't see. I gotta cultivate this city, as you heard in that video. Like, that's what I'm here for, man. I'm here to do something that the city hasn't had for it much, I feel. So let's bring it together, everyone.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you'd like to kind of end this interview on? Anything else you thought you might like to share with the Resilient Activist Group?
The Resilient Well, I would say that, hey, the Resilience Activist Group, I'm with you guys. I cannot wait to help push forward what you're doing with all I can offer, whatever I can do within my power. So let's make that happen. I'll also say, give me this video, because my editor is finishing that trailer, and I'd like to see if we can implement some of this inside to there. So
it's yours. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll do it. AY, thank you so much for not just all that you do, but all that you give, and just the joy in your heart, because it's a big part of the visionary activist mission, is how much time and energy we can all put into what we don't want, and into all the negativity and all the social media and like everything that just feels so overwhelming and depressing and down. And it's so much more joyful to just look at what we can do, right? And just totally shift and say, wow, here's my gift and here's what I can do. And I know that it's going to make a difference. And that's what I see you doing. You don't shy away from the reality of anything, but you don't focus on that. You take what you learn from that and turn it into just sweet music, right?
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Tammy. You have a good one.
Bye.